Get your man the flute to play song, the fuck.
What's everyone, Kajima Toshi, and welcome back to episode number 138, probably, of the Inline G Flute podcast with me, your host, Inline G. Guys, if you're watching the video version of this podcast, look at that. Just look at that. Do you know what that is there? Do you know what that is up there? That's the sun. I barely recognise it. It's been so long since I've seen her. It's been months since she said hello, but there she is in all her beauty. It's the fucking sun. Man, do you know Belfast, up until last week, had non-stop rain? It was not one day in 2026 where it didn't rain in Belfast until last week. That's fucking mad. And honestly, Germany, Cologne especially where I'm living, it is a rough place in the winter, lads. Once you get January and February here, it is brutal. It is grey and cold and miserable. The people are not in a good mood. Nobody wants to leave the house. It gets dark so early. It's cold. It's brutal. But we got through it. The game is back. Look at that. We're going for Aperol spritzes this weekend. That is fucking heaven. It's making me so happy, man. My mood is just lifted. We've made it. But you know what? It could be worse. You could live in America, which... By the way, 1 minute 21 until we got our first job in there at the USA. That's got to be a record. And tell you what, there's more where that came from. If this is your first time, by the way, listening to the Inline G podcast, there are two things that you can guarantee around here on every single episode. You can put the house on this. You can put the wife, put the kids, put the house on this. Number one, there's going to be a bit of swearing in every single episode. And number two, I will be telling Americans to go fuck themselves. It's par for the course around here. Also, I did announce on my social media when we're on the topic of the US of A that I will not be going to NFA this summer in Portland. I think it is. Wherever the fuck that is, who cares? The reason I'm not going... Okay, I didn't go last year. I nearly went, lost all my money on it because I thought I'm going to get arrested at the border. This year, I'm not going because America can go fuck itself and anyone going there has lost their fucking minds. They're shooting people up in the streets. ICE are running about. Why in the name of fuck would I go to America or give them any of my money? I've been saying for years, fuck America. None of you's listened to me. Look what happened now. Look what happened. And joking aside, I will genuinely, until Donald Trump is assassinated, I'm not going near that fucking hellhole. With one exception. Okay, one exception. If Ireland qualify for the World Cup in a couple of weeks, I might have to fly to Mexico and get one of you lot to help me over the wall to get me in to watch that game. And then you can just send me back. ICE can pick me up and send me to El Salvador they want directly afterwards. But I need to get to that game. Or the 3 games we have before we get kicked out inevitably. Because we don't qualify very often. So my morals can go on hold for 2 weeks in the summer. Do you know, I was actually watching a series. When we're talking about football. I'm sure most of you are rolling your eyes now. But while we're talking about football, I was watching a series on YouTube the other day about Italia 90, the World Cup that was held in Italy in 1990, and the rise of hooliganism. For those unfamiliar, hooliganism was like the organised fan groups within, especially English football at the time, that were very aggressive and started fights and a lot of fan trouble. It really kicked off sort of mid to late 80s with a couple of disasters, a lot of people dying in European competition, blah, blah, blah. It was a huge, big time in it. And how the rise of hooliganism sort of coincided with the rise of the Thatcher government, austerity politics, social unrest, unemployment, and the football stadium was the kind of place to express this. And there was a lot of anger and it got out there and it was reflective of its times. And I was shocked when I was watching the interview with a lot of these guys involved in that. They were saying, yeah, I did the fighting back in 1990. I can't do an English accent. I'm sorry. Why am I apologising to England? Fuck them. But anyway, they were saying they don't apologise for it. And they enjoyed it. They said actually they got a sense of community and camaraderie and all those things from it. I thought, this is mad. And it also made me think about the change, how information has changed and how we spread information in the modern age with, of course, the internet. Because it used to be, they were saying when they wanted to fight another team on the Saturday, another team's fans on the Saturday, maybe on the Tuesday night, someone would phone the house, like the landline, then ring up and say, right, we're going to fight on Saturday. You go, right, I'll see you there at 1:30 and we'll knock the bollocks out of you. And you heard nothing from them until that Saturday. They could have got held up in traffic. They could have got pulled back. Someone could have been getting their nails done. You just knew they were going to be there at 1:30 and information spread in a different way. But nowadays, information exchange is so immediate. And it has changed the way we view community. Although it's, in one way it's limited it, but in some ways it's actually reinvented it and give us a new thing, which is online communities. They don't quite hit the spot as much as real life communities, but they're doing a good job. And that's what I wanted to talk about in this episode is the Inline G podcast community. Because I've been doing this for a long time now, 138 weeks. We're getting around. So it was a little mini celebration because, well, why the fuck not? It's my podcast. I do whatever the fuck I want. And I also noticed two former guests, two of my favourite flute players, have both done a bit of Mozart this week that's been recorded and sent out. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to big them up. So we're going to start there. The first one is with Zofia Neugebauer. Guys, you're all very familiar with Zofia, I'm sure. Spelled with a Z, which is fucking cool. Anyone with a Z in their name, man, it's cool as fuck. It's so punk rock to have a Z in your name. So Zofia, she's been on the podcast twice. On her first episode, I think it was called Mozart in Luxembourg, she talked about her upcoming album, which is now just getting ready to come out. Finally, we're so excited for it. So it's her playing both Mozart flute concertos. It is Johannes Klump conducting, and it's the Volkswagen Kammer Orchestra in Essen here in Germany playing with her on it. Now, the album isn't out yet, but there is a single out on all your streaming platforms, and the single is the slow movement of the G major concerto. I'm going to play a little bit of you, not too much, because I don't want to get sued by whatever record label's paying for this, but it is criticism, I suppose, or commentary. Okay, I can't play much more than that, but I wanted to play that little start so you can hear what you're going to be getting into, because that is indicative of this entire track and also the entire album. The ornamentation is so fresh and new. And if you watch that podcast episode, I'm plugging my own podcast here. If you watch that podcast episode, Zofia tells us why and the academic research behind it and how Johannes worked with her on it, blah, blah, blah. Very, very fascinating. But also, it's the energy and the freshness this recording seems to have had. Straight away from this track, it feels different. It feels light. It feels modern. It's not as indulgent as the Mozart concertos that came before, maybe in the 80s or 90s, where they're super rich and heavy. And it's also not as sterile as what came as nearly a response to that style of recording, where we got super accurate, historically informed, excuse me, my brain's somewhere else, lads. Historically informed performances. And it just now seems to be going somewhere much more natural and much more artistic. If anyone knows Zofia as a person, or you've seen her videos, that is what she's like in real life. And she is so bubbly and fresh and energetic and pure and empathetic and a genuine artist and just a real fucking ray of sunshine. And that's what her playing comes across as. It's coming across as someone that is enjoying themselves massively and is having fun and bringing energy to it, which I think Mozart needs. So I'm super excited about this recording. You should go and check out the second movement now. It's out. Album cover is amazing. It looks like something from a rock album. It's going to be so fucking good. There's a reason I wanted Zofia on the podcast, and there's a reason I've got her on twice, and there's a reason why I want to get her on a third time to make a hat trick. She's great. Also, the cadenza in this is her own cadenza. So go and listen to that. The actual full album is out on... I should have fucking checked this before I came on. I think it's April 10th. I want to say April 10th. I've actually got a voice message from Zofia right now, but I can't open it up on the podcast, so hopefully she hasn't corrected me and I haven't fucked this entire episode. But go and check that out. It's on Spotify. Zofia Neugebauer, Z for the start of Zofia, Zofia, Neugebauer. Good luck spelling that, but if you just put in Zofia Flute, you'll probably find it. Now, the next one I want to talk about is another former Inline G guest who was also playing a bit of Mozart this week, and it is Marianna. I feel like at this point I talk that much about Marianna and Zofia and Magali to an extent where I don't even have to say their surnames. It's like Prince or Seal or Ronaldinho. You just say their name and you know who I mean. So it's Marianna, but it's Marianna Busslechner, who is the principal flute of the WDR Funkhaus Orchestra here in Cologne. Again, go and follow her on social media. She had a concert last week here in Cologne with her orchestra where she played the Andante for flute and orchestra with her own orchestra. It was gorgeous. It's part of a really varied program. It's a live recording. It's on the YouTube. Fuck, I sound like my grandfather there. It's on YouTube. It's on the internet. Okay, so you can go watch it. I'll stick a link up somewhere. But I'm going to play a little bit for you now because I've noticed something, right? I've got my ears around this. Now, again, I'm going to draw a parallel here between her and Zofia, but it is so light. It is so expressive. It's so joyful. It's just so modern. It feels like a way that people haven't been interpreting these pieces for a long time, especially when they're doing recordings or they're playing them with orchestras. It feels like this is new. This is the new generation of flute player coming through that we've needed, and it's so gorgeous. Also, you have to watch the video when you're doing this, but you can get any choice. It's only on video, but Marianna's aesthetic is so cool as well. And it's so classy. See that coming into classical music. You know, she's got the pink eyeshadow. She's got the cool pink earrings, the rings. Man, she looks fucking cool. Zofia obviously looks cool as well. You just can't see any pictures of her. But it's this new aesthetic that's so calm and so coherent with who they are as people. Also put into the way they express Mozart, which is so fucking rare these days. And Marianna and Zofia are two very... I mean this in the best sense of the word, but they're very normal people, which is quite a rare thing in this industry. So I wanted to go on about all this, right? And my plan for this episode was to do loads more of this, because Marianna and Zofia, they do share a lot of similarities. We'll get more into this. So they've both been Inline G guests. They've both got first names that I love to say. They're very fun first names. They've both got surnames that I had to practice in the mirror 10 times before I said it in the podcast. And I've had pints of Guinness with both of them. So, yeah. But the obvious similarity between Zofia and Marianna is they're girls. Also, I should point out at this point, I've been made aware that referring to adult women as girls is condescending. That's not my intention when I do this. That is a slang thing from Belfast. I think it's Ireland in general, but certainly from Belfast, because I will also refer to fully grown men as boys or lads. I think it's more fun. Okay, and it's just the way we speak in Belfast. So there is an equality across that, and there is no condescension intended whatsoever. So, yeah, my original plan was to do this wee light episode where I was going to do like, Zofia did this, Marianna did this. I'm going to check in with all my other former guests and see if anyone's been up to anything interesting over the last week. And it's like a wee interlude, the way in Friends or those TV shows where they couldn't be fucked right in an episode, so they're like a highlights reel. It felt like that. It felt like a nice wee easy week for Gareth instead of deep diving into something that's going to take me a week to write. So I put up an Instagram story saying, hey, if you've been on Inline G or if you've seen anyone on Inline G who's done something cool in the last few weeks, let me know. I'm going to do a bit of promotion on them. Very light. Now, 3 people came in to promote themselves. People were recommending all kinds of stuff, but 3 people came in to promote themselves. And all 3 are former Inline G guests, and all 3 of them were women. And my mind is fucking flying about that fact. I really got thinking about this. It really struck me. All 3 and the only 3 were women. Now, I'm going to promote all 3 of them at the end of this episode, or not too far away, so don't fuck off. Stay for that. It is really important. Or skip to it if you can't be fucked with this massive rant that's coming up and probably going to take up most of my afternoon. But I want to look at the significance of that firstly. Why gender equality is so fucking shite in classical music, even in 2026, and what I try to achieve with this podcast to do our bit towards that. But firstly, before I do that, because I know I'm going to go on a rant here that is not going to stop anytime soon, I'm going to do my Patreon read quickly. So if you're a regular listener to this podcast, please skip ahead a minute or two. You'll see it in the chapters. You know what's about to happen. If you're new around here, please bear with me for just a little bit of time. Lend me your ears. It's quite important. The Inline G podcast is free, and it will always be free. That is a motherfucking guarantee. However, if you wish to donate to the podcast, you can now do so through the Patreon. On the screen now is the address, and for the audio listeners, it is patreon.com/the Inline G Flute podcast. Links in the bio, wherever you're listening or watching. Guys, the way it works is this podcast comes out every single Friday, come rain or shine. You get 4 episodes a month. Usually it is solo episodes, sometimes it's guests. I have 0 sponsors on this podcast, and I never will. Sponsors want to have creative control. They want to stop me swearing, talking about politics, telling Donald Trump to go fuck himself, amongst other things. That is not the podcast that you want, so I'm not bringing them on for that, but I do need to get paid for my work, so this is the way we do it. If you listen to this episode, or if you listen to 4 episodes a month, and you think, fuck, that was really entertaining. If I saw Gareth in the pub, I'd buy him a pint to say thank you. Do it virtually, okay? It's €5 a month. I think it's even $5, actually, and it gets translated. Gets converted into euros. $5 a month. You can sign up and then unsubscribe immediately if you just want to give me a one-off one, okay? Don't do it through the app as well. Don't download the app because Apple get their fucking dirty fingers involved in that. Go and do a browser and do it, please. But basically, you're just keeping the podcast alive. I do everything around here on my own. This is the definition of a small independent podcast. I do audio production, video production, graphic design, promotion, marketing, clipping. Every aspect of this is done by yours truly. It's a monumental amount of work. I fucking love it. A creative process of my life. It brings me so much joy and meaning. But it's a lot of work and I want to get paid for it. It'd be very nice. Now, at the minute, we're doing very well with the Patreon. It's incredibly appreciated. Without the patrons, I would have given up on this podcast. No doubts. I turn up every week to make an episode because I know some of you are parting with your fucking hard-earned money to support me, and it is so appreciated. So if you can afford to support this podcast, if you can afford the $5 one-off or per month, please consider donating. It makes a huge difference and it helps this podcast grow. It is what is pushing this podcast forward. If you can't afford it, that's fine. Someone else is paying so that you don't have to. It's a system based on kindness and soundness. Also, please consider recommending the podcast to a friend, giving a 5-star rating, or sharing it on your social media, or doing things. Please interact with the podcast, interact with the algorithm, follow me on socials, do all that at Inline G Flute. These things really help and they cost you fucking nothing. If you even got this far in the podcast and you haven't done any of those things, please go and do it now. Please, just take 5 seconds, go follow me on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, throw me a like, throw me a comment, anything to engage with the algorithm to get it going. And then it costs you fucking nothing. There you are. I love you. So, women in classical music. Let's talk about it. They should be banned. Join me next week for another episode of the Inline G. That's a joke, by the way. That's a wee joke. Here's a wee joke phrase. Put that one in your pocket. Take that one home with you. That's the first thing you'll say when you recommend this podcast. Full of wee jokes, so it is. Your man Gareth tells wee jokes. He told this joke the other week about women being banned. That's how you promote me. Thank you very much. I tell you what, right? That's the kind of joke you can only get away with when you're talking live. That's the only kind of nuance that you can get away with when you can hear a tone of voice. You couldn't get away with that in Facebook. Facebook, I have the mob coming after me. You know the mob I'm talking about. They'd be out for my fucking head on a stick. Honestly, fuck Facebook. Especially for classical music, fuck Facebook. I'm fucking fed up with it. It's such a reactionary platform. It's one person reacting to something and then they react to that and then they react to that and everyone's just screaming at each other. And I find myself hating people who are on the same side as me. I'm like, I agree with you, but you're a wanker about it. There was a strange cultural phenomenon of how Americans behave on Facebook. You know, they type in full sentences, full stops, no emojis, no subtlety, no nuance, very direct language, and that sort of, it's their way of showing that they're being serious. It's almost like it's like the semi-corporate language, I want to say. Because corporate language in America, first of all, is very different to other countries, and second of all, is so important, and the corporate world is so important in America, that I feel like this corporate language holds a lot of currency and weight and intelligence, or faux intelligence. And it really pisses me off as an Irish person, because you're talking like a wanker. And if you talk like that verbally, if you were in an argument with someone in a pub, and they started talking to you directly, full stop, looking at you, that shows there's no willingness to engage, there's no willingness to have a conversation, and you just get, that person's a prick. And I think you are responsible for your tone of voice on the internet too. When you type, you're as responsible for it. Subtlety, nuance, balance, it's all really important in your written speech as it is in your actual real life speech. We've been living online for 20 years now. There is no excuse to not know how to fucking type like a normal person and not be a dickhead, not be condescending and rude and self-righteous. Anyway, women in classical music. Jesus Christ, I knew it was going to be a long episode. This is meant to be a nice episode. I'm fucking raging now. I'm going to debunk one of the most popular arguments I ever hear, especially on fucking Facebook, in online discourse in general, against women in classical music in the next 5 minutes. Right? Bear with me. Watch this. Hold on to something. Here we'll fucking go. I'm going to use the USA and Germany for all my statistics here because, one, they're both powerhouses in classical music in general, but they've also got significant research done in these fields. And I live in Germany and I work here, so it's a place I can comment on quite frequently and with reasonable authority. And for America, I love to use the USA because I get to shit on them. Any excuse to shit on the USA, I will love to include them in any kind of statistics. By the way, speaking of fun statistics, the Human Freedom Index ranks countries by their level of freedom. America is 15th. Go fuck yourselves. 15th. Man, for the land of the free. That's not very fucking free, is it? Shite. So anyway, we're going to talk about this gender gap. Now, I'm a stickler for getting this all exactly the way it should be because I know there's going to be some wankers out there who are going to have the argument that I'm going to put to you. So we're going to get our ducks in a row first. In both countries, USA and America, and in the world in general, but again, we're going to use these two as samples, it is almost exactly 50% male to 50% female in the population in general. So Germany is 50.6% male and 49.4% female. The USA is 50.25% male and 49.75% female. Now, these are census done for biological sex at birth, not gender. So, of course, gender will have slightly different figures as biological sex, but there would not a significant enough change that it's going to really skew these numbers or statistics. So we'll stick with these for now of biological sex, gender being a different thing. We all know that. You should know that. But anyway, 50%, bang on. That's important to know because it's all relevant. It is 50-50. Don't come at me already. Now, in Germany, there are 129 publicly funded orchestras. There's a lot more orchestras in Germany in general. I think there's 212 at the minute. But there's 129 publicly funded. And because we're in Germany, everything is noted. Everything is measured. Everything is put into a spreadsheet somewhere. I don't even know if it's in a spreadsheet. It's probably printed out somewhere. Some poor fucker's probably sitting in an office right now with a ruler and a pen, writing this all out. Germans are mad for a spreadsheet, and they're not that mad for the internet. Do you know they still use fax over here, by the way? They fax people. Anyway, so classical musicians, people working in these 129 publicly funded orchestras as musicians, 39.6% of the musicians are female. Just 39.6. 28.4% of those musicians are in leader of those females. Sorry, I fucked that up. I'm going to do it again. 28.4% of those women are in leadership positions. Now that's piss poor. And 8% of all music directors in Germany, in these 129 publicly funded orchestras, only 8% are female. 8%. Now we're going to go to the US. I found a study where it said in US classical orchestras or professional orchestras, 47% of the orchestras are female or non-binary. They do specify that. The German one hasn't done that. 29.4% are in leadership roles, and 14% of all music directors in the USA are female. Now, on those numbers, I get it. It seems like the USA is winning, but both are absolutely piss poor. And don't get me wrong, I was disappointed as anyone. I really wanted to beat America, but they got this one. But they're still shit. This is a battle. This is a race to the bottom. These numbers are dog shit, and they're weird. 14% is a fucking disgrace. For when there's no gender gap in classical music, 14% is a fucking disgrace. And don't even get me started on the other things as well, which are like male domination in programming, in chamber music, in professors, in masterclasses, all those things. There's so many other fields apart from just orchestral professional musicians. Classical music as an industry is a fucking boys club. It's a wee boys club as well. It's a fucking wee boys club. So here's the big argument I hear when you point out any of these gender disparities in the classical music industry. That men are simply better. Or the chosen men in these ones are simply better. We don't see gender. These guys are just better for the job. Do you not want to hire the best person for the job? We shouldn't put a woman in just because we need to have a woman. It just so happens these men are better. Now that is such an easy argument to make because on the surface it sounds totally coherent. It sounds totally correct and thought out, and who could argue with that? Okay? Especially for programming. When you're programming composers and what works to put in your orchestra, all the big names, the big household names that people, especially outside classical music, know are dead white lads. All of them. So it's so easy to do. It's always so easy to throw in your Mozarts and your Beethovens and your Bachs and your Handels. But there's a fucking reason why they're all dead white lads. And this argument tries to play the superiority card. It tries to play that card of like, I am only interested in the noble pursuit of the greatest art without anything getting in the way. I don't even see gender. I don't even see it. I don't see race. I just want art to be the best. And that is a pile of wank. I'm going to tell you why it's a pile of wank. Because there are so many factors affecting who's doing what in the classical music world. First of all, we're talking about art. What is the best? There is no best. There is no measurable way to compare artists. And thank fuck for that, by the way. Because it wouldn't be art anymore. Then it'd be sport. We don't want that. The few attempts we have at comparing artists to each other, things like competitions or auditions or prizes, these are all male-dominated areas still in the classical music. What I mean for that is, in the classical music industry. So what I mean is, if you go to most international competitions or major competitions, the jury or the judging panel are mainly men. The music that everyone's playing is composed by men. The leadership roles of the institutions that support and fund this are belonging to men. This reinforces this male canon in the industry. And I'm telling you, if any one of you has spent fucking 10 minutes in a music college or a conservatory or an orchestra or anything else in the professional classic music world or even the fucking amateur world, people will tell you the men in this industry are fucking sexist. And they're fucking weird too. They're bizarre people, man. There is a reason why I try to uniquely interview women for this podcast. And I want to have more women than men because men in classical music are wankers. And now I'm going to tell you more about this. Now we're fucking 138 episodes deep. I can spill the beans a little bit and all this. You can watch my episodes with men. Now, when I'm referring to the men, especially the ones I don't know, there's a couple of lads I've interviewed who are my friends, and I know them a little bit better. When I'm going into someone unknown who I'm meeting for the first time to interview for the podcast, I would much rather it's a woman. Go and watch the ones with the men, okay? I would say, I don't want to give you an exact number because I want people speculating, but I would say maybe 5 times in all the interviews I've done with men on this podcast, 5 times I have not had to visibly hide my intelligence or make myself smaller in order to stroke their egos with a false sense of superiority. Maybe 5 times. I always dumb myself down because I know they're going to be threatened by any sign of intelligence from another man. Do you know what? I'll give you a perfect example. I don't give a fuck what happens now. You've all seen, or you maybe seen the episode with Alexei Kosenko. That was a fucking weird episode. Also, I did delete it for a while. It might still be up on certain platforms. I can't know what I did with it. But I've made statements on this about how I'm keeping it up for different reasons. But there is a point in that podcast, right? I made a clip of it and then I had to delete it because I thought, I was trying to lick up the people. I was trying to get people to like me at this stage, so I didn't put this clip out. But there's a moment in the podcast where I thought I'd interact with Alexei, so I tell him a story about the last time I was in Rome. I was 14, and I was looking everywhere for this football jersey with Fabio Cannavaro on the back, and I was looking for one so much and haggling with someone so much that I missed the Trevi Fountain, because he was talking about the Trevi Fountain. I said I didn't even see it, but I got my Cannavaro jersey, and I was the happiest 14-year-old in all of Rome. And I finished that story. It was fucking funny. It wasn't as funny as I just told it there now, but it was funny at the time. You had to be there. You can be there. So I finished that story and he just looked and went, so anyway, when I was like, man, fucking give me a courtesy laugh. But you can see the fucking awkwardness of, oh, that's funny. I can't be funny. All I can do is talk about flute. So I'm going to bring him down. I thought, you fucking wanker. I don't even know if he's a wanker. He's just weird, but you never know. In general, with a lot of people, a lot of men in this industry, you have the same problem. You don't know if they're deliberately being pricks or they're just weirdos. And it happens all the time. All the time with lads. And I want good content for my podcast. I want you guys to get the good content. So I will just let them think that they're superior. I don't mind stroking their egos. I know I'm playing the game. Now, you know that picture? You know that picture of, like, I think it's Darwinism, isn't it? Not educated enough to comment on this, right? But you know the bit where, like, the monkey is slowly turning into the man? And it's like the gradual steps. A bit like Goosebumps, where the monkey's turning into the man. I'd say most men in classical music are about halfway. They're not at the fully developed man yet. They're still a bit, they're not quite there yet. They can play their instruments well, but that's about it. Having a conversation with them is a bit Neanderthal vibe. You talk about fire, they might get it. And the amount of ego that's involved with them and lack of importance on any kind of emotional intelligence in this industry, it feeds back into itself. It goes back in. It's a loop. It's a snake that eats his own tail. It's a fucking God complex is what it is. It's ridiculous. Classical music is so niche. Nobody cares about it. And people in it don't know this because they spend too much, especially these men, they spend too much time wanting to be gods. They don't want to go out into the real world because it shatters their illusion of who they are and their ego being stroked. They only want to hang out with people who know who they are, to the point where they will not make any friends or interact in anything outside of the classical music world. They will spend all their time doing masterclasses, going to concerts, supporting people, doing all this under the guise of being involved in the industry, but really because they can't go anywhere else because nobody cares. Unless you're a mega star. And even then, who's the most famous classical musician in the world? Maybe Dudamel? Lang Lang? If they were walking down the street, most people still wouldn't get them. Not like they would fucking David Beckham or Messi or Ronaldo or Tom Cruise or any other industry. Like a rock star. If Dave Grohl walked down the street, we'd know it's someone. Lang Lang, most people wouldn't give a fuck still. We're just not that famous. And nobody cares. That's the main thing. Nobody cares. So they stay away from the real world and they keep in their niche to keep this God complex up. The girls, on the other hand, great crack. Absolutely great crack. Spill the beans again. You'd think I'd have a drink. I'm drinking Spetsy. I'm totally sober. I'm just fed up. most of the times when I do a podcast, I'll go for a drink with the guest afterwards. And we'll get to know each other. And I'd say 90% of my guests I became friends with. A good 95%. Like, they're class. When I go for a pint with these lads, the lads want to go to a pub. Great, we go in there, we get a pint of Guinness. And usually in whatever city I'm in, I'll know someone else in the pub. We'll talk. They get so embarrassed when people go, what do you do for a living? I play the flute, and go, oh, okay, that's kind of cool. Instead of, oh my God, you play principal flute and whatever. Nobody gives a fuck, especially in an Irish pub. Nobody cares. You're not impressing anyone. That's a good thing. They can't handle that. And the reaction to that is anger and frustration and who the fuck do they think they are? And superiority. Which they're reacting with a normal person. Quote unquote normal, whatever normal is. The girls, totally different. I go for drinks with the girls afterwards. We actually have fun. They're empathetic. They're kind. They're caring. Most of the women I chat to, they downplay their intelligence during the podcast, which is why that... Well, first of all, during podcast interviews with women, I deliberately try to do the opposite effect. I try to make them pull out their intelligence and give them the place to go, no, you are fucking class. Tell people how class you are. And if it's so much more relaxed, you'll see in my body language and the way I speak, I'm so much more relaxed about these girls. They're so much nicer and so much easier. And I don't have to play the stupid fucking games that I do with other men. And I hate playing those games. I'm like, lads, these are honestly like fucking Neanderthals. They're insufferable. But women in this industry are, for most of the part that I've encountered, class. Fucking class. That's why I want them on this podcast, which is also why, bringing this all back, this is why I'm thrilled that so many women, or only women, replied to my story to promote themselves. Usually it's men. It's nearly always men. The amount of people who have openly invited themselves as guests on this podcast with no shame whatsoever is at least 30. At least 30 people have done that. And the percentage of those people that are men, 100. Every fucking one. The arrogance, the balls on some of those lads when they're shite musicians and they're not even interested. They've got nothing to talk about. They're dull as dishwasher. Dull as dishwater. It's wild. I think, where do you get the arrogance, man? Where do you get the confidence to... Like, I've met you in real life. You are a flannel of a man. You've got nothing to talk about. You're like a pork scratching standing there. You're not good at your instrument. You're not got anything cool to say. You're not got anything interesting to say, and you think people want to listen to you. And you've got the balls to come to me and say, I want to be on your podcast. And they say that. They go, I will be on your podcast. Good. Go fuck yourself. No one's ever... One person has invited themselves and they've actually made it onto the podcast. That's happened once. Usually when you say to me, not, I think I'd be a good guest. That's different. But when you go, I'm coming on your podcast for no reason whatsoever, that is the quickest way to be put into the list of people I will never put in my fucking podcast. Because again, this is a dictatorship, not a democracy. But with this status about promoting themselves, the men kept fucking shut. They didn't pipe up. The girls did. And I loved that because there's a long line of things that cause gender equality in this industry and in this art form. Take Germany. Women couldn't attend university in Germany until 1909. That was when every university in Germany openly accepted women. The first one was only 1900, 9 years earlier, by the way. Some of the music schools, some of the conservatories here in Germany have been around for hundreds of years old. The one in Cologne, the Köln Hochschule for Music and Dance, it was 1850. They had 59 years running before they even had to bring women in. The violinist, Madeline Caruso, was the first woman to play in the Berlin Philharmonic Orchestra in 1982. 1982. That's the same year that Rocky 3 came out. Like, man, fuck, that's when the first woman played in the supposed best orchestra in the world. Does anyone want to guess what year the Vienna Philharmonic started allowing women to audition for the orchestra? Not even get accepted, to just audition. Tell you what, while you think about that, I'll give you a hint. What year did the Vienna Philharmonic start allowing women to audition for the orchestra? It was the same year that this song came out.
Hiya, Bobby.
Hi, Ken.
You want to go for a ride?
Sure, Ken.
Jump in.
I'm a Barbie girl.
The same year as that song. I'm not fucking with you. That's not an old song. Also, I think I kind of look like Aqua. You think I look like... I feel like I look like Aqua sometimes. Not Aquaman. That's very different. I look like Aqua. The fella that sings Barbie Girl. Anyway, 1997. That was when the Vienna Philharmonic auditioned women. Not even fucking accepted them. That is... I'm laughing. That is insane. 1997, man. That's fucking... What? What? Like, I remember that. I was 5. I was there. So, women in classical music in general, it's new. It's still a new thing. It's not about the male counterparts being better. That's not a true thing. It's insane to think that 9% of music directors or conductors here in Germany are female, in a field where being a woman has zero impact on the quality. Zero bearings or changes nothing. There's nothing about the physical makeup of being a biological woman that's going to have any effect on the way you play the instrument. It's not like saying, no woman has ever played in the German Bundesliga, which is the football league here for men. There's obvious reasons for that, because the physicality involved in the men's sport as opposed to the women's sport, there's essentially different sports. There's a reason why they haven't played in it. That, understand, we're in music, it means fuck all. And there's an argument to be made in the sport as well, but fuck all in music. There's no reason for it. So 50% of the population, but only 9% are becoming conductors or music directors. Also, when you go to music college, it's still very even. The level of people studying to third degree level in Germany of classical music, it's still almost 50% are women. But so little actually get into the profession. It's weird. It's weird. If there's any other field, you would say 9% in a demographic where there is 50% is insane. That's a mistake. There's something wrong there. It's not like it's a little bit below and you go, maybe a shit year, something happened. This is obviously a flaw. There's obviously something wrong in these numbers. And there's the biggest argument for this is orchestras are better than ever. Orchestras in this day and age, are more technically proficient, more competitive, have more rigorous audition schedules. People coming out of music college are higher than ever. The classical music industry, technically and pretty much in all ways, is at its best. It's never been this good. It gets better and better and better. If that has coincided with women entering the industry. So if men were better at classical music, we would see the opposite effect. We would see the quality of orchestras decrease. They are getting higher the more we let women into the industry. The more women enter the industry. Well, no, let's probably the right word. So if women were inherently worse in some kind of way, that some people seem to make this argument, surely the standards would be fucking slipping. But no. And assuming that it just so happens that all the best players in the world are men, we don't see gender, blah, blah. It's a circular argument because it assumes a few things. It assumes that the evaluation process for what the best is neutral, which is not. And the opportunity structure to enter the industry is neutral. It's not. And that historical impact had no effect whatsoever. It did. Even if a field is male dominated at the top, even if it was, okay, let's say it was for a second, that doesn't prove anything. It doesn't prove that men are inherently better or the gender is irrelevant. There's no point in that. It proves that there's cultural bias. It proves that there's unequal opportunity. It proves that there's historical momentum, and it proves that there's networking effects from all these things. I haven't got my latest podcast numbers, but I do know the listenership of this podcast is more female than male, which I'm delighted with. Nice to have these girls. But for a long time, the guest numbers in this podcast, a couple of weeks ago, it was 60% women, 40% men. It got closer to 50 with a couple of guests. I mean, we haven't had a huge amount of guests in this podcast. Last week we had 2 men. I do count it as 2, so 2 for 1 in that one brings the numbers down. 2 to 3, it makes a big impact. But still, the minute it comes under 50%, I do go, fuck, right, we need to do something about this here. Because we should be wary of that. We have to be wary because internalized misogyny is so easy. I'm a man. I'm a straight white man. It's in there somewhere. I've picked up little bits of it culturally. You have to be aware of it and you have to be on top of it. You have to push to keep it above 50% minimum. And it has to be an effort because there's so many reasons why I would choose a man over women without even realizing why I'm doing it. So you have to keep fucking bang on. This also goes for other things. It goes for diversity in other areas, like ethnicity or socioeconomic status or sexuality, blah, blah, blah. Diversity and representation is so important. By the way, on that, if anyone knows anyone involved in the LGBTQIA plus activism scene within classical music, please let me know. I need someone on the podcast for this. But I need an activist. I need someone who really knows their shit on this. And I'm looking to cover all those different areas. But for today, we're up in the girls. So we're going to end this podcast in about 39 minutes. Jesus Christ, Gareth. Okay, the last few things, we're going to get to those 3 women that have promoted themselves because they deserve their moment in the sunlight. And I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. They're doing great things. So the first one is going to be, it's Gill Where is she? Gill Flutes. She started her musicians 75 hard thing. That's a very shit way of describing it, but you know what I mean. Go to your Instagram. You'll see all her posts about it. It's a 75 hard challenge, musicians edition. 2 required practice sessions per day, 30 minutes of required listening, 10 pages of relevant reading, 1 active wellness session, 1 required reflection. It's a way to sort of get you into fucking shape over 75 days as a musician. It's a great initiative she's running. Go and check it out. Get involved with it. These little online things are a great way to get your motivation up. Get involved in the community because you'll put hashtags in and you'll see other people doing it. You'll feel involved. It's class. It's 75 days. It's not that long. It's long enough to totally turn around your playing and your approach to music and your love of it. So go and check out Jill's page for that because it looks amazing. What's the next one? Who do I want to... Cassie. Okay. Cassie O'Hanlon, a.k.a. the tattooed flute teacher, who was on this podcast as well, was on the news because she's in... I didn't know this was a city, okay? I was mixed between reading Colorado and tornado when I read both these words, but it's Coronado. Apparently it's a city in California. No disrespect to Coronado, but I just don't know cities in California. But anyway, Cassie started a thing called the Coronado Terrible Orchestra. Now, I believe, I haven't actually checked this entirely, but I believe there was a thing called the Really Terrible Orchestra in Scotland. And it's essentially an orchestra for beginners who've never played in a long time. It's a community orchestra. The idea is you can be shit. You can be terrible. It's fine. You're here to make music together. It's a wonderful initiative, and it's very accepting straight away off the bat that we're not going to be the best orchestra in the world. We're going to be terrible, but we're going to do it together, and we're going to make progress, and it's about the pure joy of making music and community. She was on the news for it, man. She's conducting it. She's just set that up. She only moved to California recently, and she's out there setting up a fucking orchestra and conducting it. That is rock and roll. I've seen it. There's strings in it. There's proper members in it. It's growing. It's a thing. And she just went out there and fucking did that. It's class. I reshared it. I'm going to post up on my Instagram about it. I know you might not be in Coronado. You might not view yourself as a terrible musician, but go and support these things. Go and fucking get involved in Cassie's Instagram or social media post or like shit, share shit. It really helps people out like this, and it's an amazing thing to be doing, especially as a woman doing that, because, again, 8% of music directors in the US are women. It's a fucking disgrace. And the last one, finally, Hélène Bouleg. Now, Hélène, I've talked about her in this podcast. She was obviously a guest a year and a half ago. Hélène was someone I idolized when I was in music college. Her Jolivet albums came out around that time. I was obsessed with Jolivet when I was in Paris. She's a little older than I am, not much. And I was crazy for her. I even got a signed CD off her once. It made my day. When I started this podcast, she was one of the number one guests I wanted to get on. Really, really high up there. And I'm amazed that I got her on. And I'm even more amazed that I get to call her a friend. I think. I hope Hélène agrees with me there. If not, well, oops. But I think she's a friend. And we all love Hélène. We've all seen how honest she is and open she is on Instagram. I put this story up and she messaged me jokingly going, well, I created a second child. And she was like, is that an achievement? Ha ha ha. And I was like, you're fucking right, it is. That's like the biggest achievement. So congratulations to Hélène. Huge congratulations. Go and watch the episode with her if you want to learn more about motherhood and pregnancy. This was with her first child. It's one of the most intense episodes, one of the most honest and raw episodes that's ever been done in Inline G. Hélène was amazing on it. Opened my eyes up a lot. Fantastic. And one of my favourite episodes ever done. So maybe I'll convince her to come on again. Anyway, lads, that's it. We're done. If you've done anything, let me know. I would love to support you. I'd love to get involved in things. Till then, stay safe. Good luck to you, and free Palestine.
Get your man the flute to play, son, the fuck.